welcome to day 5 of Vlogmas. So it's Friday, December the 5th today. I'm quite pleased with myself managing to keep up so far. I know it's only been 2 episodes, but still, you know, it's a start. Today's episode of Vlogmas, I'm looking at the word episode on my screen because we're talking about episode 5, funnily enough, day 5, of Game of Wool. So if you don't know, Game of Wool is a UK knitting and crochet show to find Britain's best knitter. It's called Game of Wool, Britain's best knitter, although they do crochet as well, somewhat contentiously, but they do crochet as well. We're now down to 6 contestants left, and this week is Texture Week. So each week they do a solo challenge and a team challenge, and today's solo challenge was to crochet some amigurumi favourite dish, favourite food. Now, some of them are crocheting, some of them are knitting, and I thought that amigurumi was only crochet, but actually the definition of it is that it's Japanese for small knitted or crocheted doll or something like that. So it does in fact include knitting, so they are allowed to knit legally, so to speak. So yes, so the judges are looking for realistic pieces. They don't want any smiley faces, so it can't be any of that kawaii nonsense. They want realistic looking food. They want it all to be in proportion, and they want a variety of stitches. And they've got 12 hours to knit or crochet this favourite dish of theirs. One thing I'd like to point out at this point is that the judges are wearing terrible outfits. Terrible. So Di's wearing a red cardigan, which is just really shapeless. And Sheila's wearing some really wacky fingerless gloves, which are obviously a token nod to Texture Week. And that's obviously why she's wearing them, and they just look a bit ridiculous with her outfit, I think, personally. So I'm not sure the judges have turned out very well this week at all, but who am I to judge? I'm not a judge. I'm not a fashion expert, obviously. Anyway, let's get on to what they all make. So Isaac is making a bacon, egg and cheese bagel. He's using short row shaping, so that's knitting technique to create some shaping. I don't know anything about short row shaping. I've often seen short row shaping mentioned, but never done it, so I can't really speak to that at all. But what he is using is magnets to magnet his bagels together, his bagel halves together. So he's crocheting the bagel in 2 halves as if it's been split and then cut open. And each half has magnets in to keep all the layers together. So he's got like the bagel bottom, then some bacon, egg and cheese, and the bagel top, and then times that by 2 on each half. He's got a lot to live up to this week because he won the badge last week, the sheep badge, for his explorer outfit, if you remember. So he's feeling the pressure this week to try and keep up with that. Then we have Ailsa, and Ailsa is doing a Sunday roast. So she's doing mostly crochet, except for her roasties, which are knitted. She's doing roast beef slices and like a colour gradient going from pink in the middle to dark brown on the outside. She's doing some carrots, she's doing some Yorkshire puddings, and she's doing a little gravy jug, that little blue and white striped gravy jug, which is really cute. When she finishes it, it's really sweet. And some splashes of gravy on the Yorkshire puddings. Lots of detail, lots of precision with Ailsa's. Holger says he's noodling along because he's making a bowl of noodles. I love Holger's sense of humour, it's so funny. He's making seafood ramen, so obviously a noodle dish. He's making like a false bottom in his bowl to raise up the bottom of the bowl a bit so he doesn't have to completely fill it with noodles to look like broth. And then he's doing some noodles popping out of it, and he's adding shrimp, seaweed, carrot flowers and a boiled egg. And of course his noodles are coming in 3 different colours. And he's crocheting a 3D surprise element, which he's not telling the judges because he doesn't know if it'll work. So we have to wait to find out about that. Tracy is using double crochet DC stitches throughout. She's not using any other stitches at all, which of course is very contentious because the judges said that specifically they wanted to see lots of different stitches. She is making a seafood pasta dish, so she's making lots of little pasta bows. Then she's making a tomato sauce, basil leaves, bows, cockles and mussels and prawns, so lots of seafood in there. And she's got a nice little story about going winkle picking with her granddad, and Tom has never heard of winkles before. Who's never heard of winkles before? I mean, I know you've heard of winkle pickers, so surely you know what a winkle is. Maybe not. Anyway, It's a nice little story about her Winkle picking with her granddad, and she says she now does it with her children and grandchildren as well. So that's quite sweet, isn't it? We've got Lydia. Lydia is doing pie and mash, but she's doing it East End style. So apparently that means that it comes on a liquor sauce. I don't know if that's liquor as in liquor or liquor as in the drink liquor. But it's a pale green sort of parsley looking sauce. She's doing 2 little pies with a fancy pie crust. She's doing mashed potato scoops, and she's doing individual peas. But she's busy doing her mash when the judges come around and say, "Oh, are these finished?" And she's like, "Yes." And there's a deathly silence. And there's, nobody knows what to say because they are finished. And clearly the judges think that they don't look finished. But she does say she needs to brush them some more to kind of give them that fluffy texture. Simon, who's the only knitter so far not to get a badge. So he's really trying to get a badge this week. He's doing a full English fry up. So he's doing structured hash browns, tomatoes, sausage, but using freeform crochet for everything else, like his bacon, eggs, mushrooms and beans. So the judges come along and ask him about the freeform bacon, which is looking pretty good. And obviously they're concerned about him doing freeform because he did that before and it didn't work out. So Simon's very convincing that freeform is the way to go, especially for the bacon. And it makes it look more realistic, and it adds veins and waves and ripples. And the judges love it. They're loving his bacon. So it looks like it's working out for him this week. Then we're at the halfway point, and Tom tries to start a wee fight between Isaac and Simon, asking if Isaac's egg is extra special because Simon's doing an egg as well. So is Isaac's egg extra special? Oh, Tom's puns. He says constitutions as well later on in this episode. And of course, it's the sheep badge. So lots of puns from Tom. And we see a bit of the dynamic between Simon and Holger, and they're so funny. They're obviously good friends in real life, which I can attest to because I saw them having lunch at Make Joy in London, having lunch together, I should say. But yeah, I find their sense of humour with each other is really funny. They're very dry. It's very good. It's very funny. Ailsa is blending the colours on her, what's she doing, Yorkshire puddings. So she's taking the threads apart in her yarn to mix the yarn of a darker colour and a lighter colour together to give a better colour gradient. So it's quite clever and quite fiddly. And Lydia's busy making her mash fluffy, so she's brushing it with the brush to make it look all fluffy. Tracy's making more ingredients but not adding texture, so that could come back to bite her. The judges ask her about embellishments and the scale of her food, saying, is the pasta a bit big? And they actually say, is pasta bows or are pasta bows this size? And Tracy goes, well, almost that size. So the judges have picked up the pasta bows are looking a bit on the big side. And remember, they did say they wanted correct proportion in the food, so they've picked up on that in Tracy's pasta. 1 hour to go, and the backing music picks up, of course. So there's lots of footage of frantic details being added. Simon is adding loads of beans. There's some chat over his sausage because it looks like a big poo. Holger's 3D effect is coming together as noodles are rising up out of his dish, and Lydia is busy stuffing her tiny little peas. Yes, stuffing her peas, but not her mash, interestingly. So her mash is just a hollow globe with no base to it and no stuffing. And Ailsa is making her gravy jug, which, as I said before, it's so cute. It's got a licord handle. It's really sweet. And Isaac is embellishing his bagel on one side because he runs out of time for the other side and doesn't finish embellishing his bagel. Runs out of time, which Isaac has a tendency to do. So they're a bit shocked about that, really. Or not a bit shocked, I should say. And then the time is up and it's time for judging. So first we judged is Isaac. So they say that his bagel looks amazing. They love the clever construction and say it shows real skill, but the bacon's not very good. And I think that's partly because Simon's bacon was so good that compared to Simon's bacon, it just looks a bit flat. It does look like a bit like bacon to me, but that's because I'm vegetarian and my vegetarian bacon looks a bit flat. So it looks like veggie bacon, I think. They say that the surface decorations are missing, but overall it's fun. So they seem quite positive about Isaac, really. They come to Lydia and they say the structure of her pie crust is really good, and the peas are brilliant, and the peas are so cute, so vibrant in colour, and she's stuffed them all individually, which has taken ages. But the mash is not fluffy enough. So they say that she should have knitted the mash to make it a smoother texture, so that it looked more mash-like, as if it's just plopped out of the mash scoop thing. So they all say that the mash needed to have a bottom, needed to be stuffed, so they were a bit disappointed with that. Simon's is presented on a griddle pan, his full English fry up, looks amazing. They love the bacon, so it's very impressive and a very exciting piece of food. And they love the combination of free-form crochet that he's done and the planning that he's done. So he's done a really good combination of those this week, because normally he doesn't plan and then it all goes a bit wrong for him. So they're very impressed with him this week. They say that his proportion of his food is good. It all looks in proportion. And he's got some little cherry tomatoes that look really good as well. Now it comes to Tracy, and the judges are quite brutal with Tracy. They say her mussel shells aren't colourful enough, her pasta's too big, she's only used double crochet, there's not enough variation. They're really quite hard on Tracy. I feel quite sorry for her actually, because she just has to stand there and take it all. And her bowl does look a bit messy, but as she says herself later, pasta seafood is a bit messy, so perhaps it was just her choice of dish wasn't the best plan ever. But yeah, brutal judging for Tracy, I felt. Ailsa's, they say, is beautiful. They say it's neat and precise, and they love the grading of the colour gradient that she did. But they say it's too perfect and too real, and it needs more abstraction. So I'm not quite sure. They said they wanted the food to look realistic. So which do they want, abstract or real? Because the two are a bit mutually exclusive. So yeah, they're very down on Ailsa's as well, saying it's too perfect and too precise. So I think Ailsa was really disappointed, because she obviously thought she did a really good job, and she did do a really good job, and it was in proportion, and it did look like real food, but yeah, too neat. So she's going to be looking at trying to make her work a bit more loose and free-flowing next week. Holger's they come to, and they say it's a work of art, and it really is. It's next level. So he's got his noodles rising up out of the bowl. He's crocheted around some wire to make it 3D, and then he's got the noodles, kind of the chopsticks wedged into the noodles, so they're floating on top of it. It just looks amazing. They say he's got fabulous construction. The texture of the prawns is really good. There's colour balance and variety. Everything's very realistic, and it just looks amazing. And they cut to Holger, who says, "Oh, the gloves are off now. We're at the business end of the competition." So he's really going to up his game, if it can be upped even further from where it already is, because he's already very high level. I think he's going to win the whole thing. Actually, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, because each week he just brings something that's a whole new level to everybody else. Then we have the team challenge. So the team challenge this week is to make a textured slouchy cardigan. It has to use lots of stitches. I think they said they wanted a minimum of 3 stitch techniques in each cardigan. They want it to be dynamic. They're given a basic cardigan pattern to adapt, but they're looking for clear stitch definition and absolute precision, they say, with no mistakes. And that's very focused on the no mistakes. Could that be foreshadowing? We shall see. They're split into 3 teams of 2, and it's judged blind. And the teams are Team A, Cardi A, is Tracy and Isaac. Team B, Cardi B, which Tom thinks is hilarious, is Holger and Ailsa. And Team C is Lydia and Simon. And they have 10 hours to do it in, and they have to do it in super chunky wool in one colour only. So they're not allowed to use other colours. So the judges say they can't wait to see them taking risks and showing something different and original, and they want to see the reverse fabric. So things like the bubble stitch can look quite different on the reverse. And they want them to use that and push themselves out of their comfort zone to really produce something textural and wonderful. They seem to have been given like a little book of stitch definitions to use, because you see a couple of them flicking through this little flip book thing. So I don't know if they were given, how many stitches were in that, or what it was, because they flashed over it very quickly. But I would say they've all been given a little file of stitches to work from or choose from if they can't choose from their own memory bank of stitches. Just need some water. So we cut to Isaac and Tracy, who are the yellow team, and they're doing theirs in yellow, I should say. They're doing theirs with reverse stocking stitch on the back to make a smiley face. So I think reverse stocking stitch is where you correct me if I'm wrong, knit one row, purl the other, knit one row, purl the other. So if you then do knit stitches in the purl row, or purl stitches in the knit row, you get like a reverse of the texture. So that's reverse stocking stitch. So they're using that on the back to create a smiley face motif, I think is the word I'm looking for. And on their arms, they're going to have bubble stitch with cables down the front. But there is a question of whether or not the smiley face is going to be textured enough. Team C, Lydia and Simon, who are the green team, they choose green for their cardigan. They're doing a lot of cabling on the front and back. They're doing the arms honeycomb stitch, which is a lovely pattern, but it produces a tight fabric. So what do we think? Do we think it's going to be too tight, possibly? The cables look amazing though. They look like just loads of cables. It looks fantastic. And then Cardi B, which is the red team, Ailsa and Holger, they're the only team using a completely different construction. So the other two teams are crocheting the back piece, 2 front pieces and 2 arms. That's 5 pieces. Whereas Ailsa and Holger are only knitting 2 pieces. So they're knitting like a T shape. So you've got the front and the sleeve and half the back, all as one big piece of T shape. And then the same on this side. And then you seam it up the back and down the shoulder. No, not down the shoulders, they're already seamed. You seam it up the back and that joins it all together. Yes, so the thing to note with that is that because it's knitted kind of from the end of the sleeves up or from the middle out, I'm not quite sure which way they go. The stitches run in a different direction. So where the knitted stitches on the other construction, a row goes across the ways. On Ailsa and Holger's construction, a row goes down the ways. So it looks like completely different. Ailsa is doing waffle stitch across the middle of the cardigan and Scottish fleet stitch, whatever that is. And Holger's using a seersucker stitch, that's really hard to say, seersucker stitch, which kind of pulls it in and puckers it. And then something called a diamond Gansey stitch, which I don't know what that is, so can't comment on that. Plus some cables down the shoulders and sleeves and a tassel at the end, so it's like texture city. There's loads going on there. So it gets to be half time and everyone's cardi is starting to take shape, looking quite good. Tracy says that the bubble stitch sleeves that she's doing, because remember she said she did bubble stitch sleeves in her yellow cardigan. She says that they're new to her, and the way you do them is you intentionally drop a stitch, then knit for a few more rows and then pick up the stitch. But she says she's out of her depth. She admits that herself. We have more Simon Holger shenanigans. Simon sits down and says, "What are you up to?" Holger goes, "Well, we were knitting until you plonked your fat arse down in my wool." And he then feeds back to Lydia, Simon does, and then stresses that theirs is too much of the same and they need to add some more texture. So they add a lace eyelet stitch for more texture along the edges of theirs. It's the final hour and everyone's seaming up. Ailsa and Holger are using Kitchener stitch to graft their 2 halves together. But then they realise that 1 half is inside out. They've done it wrong. They've made a mistake. And remember the judges said no mistakes. So, what's going to happen there? Not quite sure. Tom comes over just as they realise and Holger says, "Do not tempt me while I have the scissors in my hand." Isaac and Tracy are attaching the sleeves and Isaac spots the problem that Tracy's not picked the stitches up properly. Another mistake. So she's gone between the stitches rather than into the stitch or something, I'm not quite sure. And to be honest, it's really obvious on this fabric, so I don't know why she didn't notice it. I think even I would have noticed that. Easy for me to say, though. I'm not under pressure of time trying to create something that's going to be judged, am I? And then the time is up and it's time for the judging. So the judges come back in because remember this was judged blind. And the first cardigan they go to is Simon and Lydia's green cardigan, which is Team Cardi, not that it really matters, C. And they say that it's super cabling on the eyelet edge, but the eyelet pattern has distorted the fabric and kind of pulled it in a bit, which might have blocked out, I'm not sure. So obviously they didn't have enough time for blocking, so it's hard to know if that's fair or not. They say the sleeves aren't wide enough, the honeycomb pattern has pulled it in and it's too dense, meaning it's not slouchy enough, which I think is quite harsh. The yellow cardigan, which is Tracy and Isaac, they're brutal again. Poor Tracy's not having a good week, is she? They say the smiley face is not enough impact or texture, so that was Isaac's smiley face. They love the sleeves, but then they spot the drop stitches, lots of them, and they say that the fabric's unstable, it would unravel, it's really sad, it's not viable or functional. Brutal again, poor Tracy. And then the red cardigan, and it's like, la, it's a different construction. The texture's fantastic. It looks wonderful. They absolutely love it. But then they spot the inside out cable. And then there's a whole big conversation about, is it intentional or is it a mistake? And they say it's a bit of an enigma, but the texture does work. And could it be reversible? Was it meant to be this way? They're not sure. They turn it inside out. They can't tell. And they leave it at that. They say the texture does work, and they leave it at that. And then we have the judges' places are given. So in third place is Isaac and Tracy's yellow cardigan because of the dropped stitches, big mistake. And the smiley face wasn't really up to par for texture either. Then they say it's a really difficult decision between second and first, but second place is Lydia and Simon with their textured cables, which means in first place is the red cardigan, which was Holger and Ilse, who admitted it was a mistake, and the judges said no mistakes. So a bit unfair for them to win, really, although they did use the most texture, so from that point of view they've hit the brief the best. So bit contentious, that one, I feel. But anyway, Lydia is not happy. We cut to Lydia and they say to her, do I think the judging's fair? No, I do not think it's fair. She does not agree with the ranking. So she's very disappointed to not have won, obviously. And then we have who is the big knitter of the week and who will be cast off. And they say that in line for big knitter is Holger because it's an amazing noodle dish and the red cardigan. And Simon is showing more skill than even he knew he had. So he's up for it as well. Who's in danger? Tracy. Well, she didn't pick up the stitches, and obviously her bowl of food was disappointing because it was only one stitch and too flat and just not enough texture going on in the food. And Di nearly cried at the drop stitches. That's Di's little bit crying for the week. And then also in danger is Isaac because his bagel was not finished. Although that's really unfair because it was so nearly finished. It was just like small embellishments. So I think that's really unfair. And his cardigan, the back let it down. The smiley face let it down. So they then announce who gets the badge. Oh, God, I can't believe I say that every time. Dreadful. Anyway, of course, who gets the badge? It has to be Holger because of his amazing noodle dish. Just looked like a work of art. It was wonderful. And Holger says it feels flocking good to get the badge. Flocking good. Oh, dear. And then cast off. Well, I think we all know who it's going to be this week, don't we? It's going to be Tracy. So Tracy will miss her embellishments and will miss her walking stick decorations. We'll miss Tracy. She's lovely. So very sadly, Tracy's been cast off. And then we have a brief little flash into next week, which is the quarterfinals, unbelievably. So there'll be 5 of them left next week. And they've got to make jewellery. And they're doing some lace work. Just a picture of a lampshade. So whether or not they'll all be lampshades, I don't know. But they've got to do some lace work. And that's that for this week's episode. Did we all enjoy it? Is it still contentious? I feel like the whole contention over Britain's best knitter has kind of diminished slightly, and people are getting over themselves and realising that it's actually not just knitting, it's crochet as well, and that's okay. I think it's brilliant that they've brought it into the public eye. I think it's great. I think if it inspires anybody to pick up the needles or a hook, then that's great as well. And I also think it's only series 1, and if they do bring it back for series 2, which I really hope they will, I think they'll have learned a few things because there's been plenty of feedback online, God knows. So hopefully they'll be able to learn a few things and maybe get the judges will feel more at home and judge a bit more sort of less woodenly, because I feel like they're still quite wooden, but they're not TV presenters. They're new to this as well, so maybe they'll change slightly. We'll see, or they might even change judges, don't know. But yeah, that's it for week 5. So I hope you all enjoyed that. The rest of Vlogmas episode 5, I'm doing my little Sophie bow. Well, it's called December bow. I think I mentioned it in yesterday's episode, didn't I? So I'm holding these 2 together, as I showed you yesterday. So that's the Drops Kid Silk and the Drops Alpaca, and it's producing this fabric here. Oops, clatter, clatter. This fabric here, which is lovely, isn't it? And it's got that lovely halo of the red Kid Silk haze on it. And look at that shape at the bottom, that beautiful bow shape. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this, how it's working up so far. So we'll be doing a bit more on that today. Oh, and I've made the decision, I'm not doing the craft fair tonight. Oh, can't tell you how good it feels not to be doing it. So I was stressed about the parking. I was stressed about arriving at night because it starts at 5 o'clock. I was stressed about not having enough turtles specifically. And I just thought, you know what, I just don't need this stress in my life. So I've just decided to cancel it and concentrate on Vlogmas instead. So I'll spend the evening editing this video. Anyway, we're up to 25 minutes now, so I'm going to say goodbye for now and I will catch you later. Bye. Hello, just off to Sainsbury's. I'm going to get some food and some Christmas cards. And I'm going to a party on Sunday, like an all day, we call it Friendsmas. There's like 20 of us get together for friends Christmas dinner. And I'm driving, so I need to get some non-alcoholic wine or something, or I think I'm going to look for non-alcoholic Bucks Fizz actually and see if I can get some of that. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to go and get, and just some food stuff for the week. Right, I've got you mounted on my new car phone mount thingy doodah. So hopefully you can see me okay. It's very, very bright. I thought I'd just quickly show you the festive bits that I bought. So I got lots of foodie bits. Our Sainsbury's is a new Sainsbury's, and it's very small. It's not a Sainsbury's local, not a teeny tiny one. It's a big shop, but it's a small big shop, if that makes sense. So they didn't have a lot in the way of festive stuff at all, really. However, I did manage to get some Christmas cards. So I got these ones, which got this lovely post box and front door. So I've got 5 of each in each pack, and I bought 2 packs. So they're quite nice. Particularly like that one. The blue's lovely. I got some mince pies. Has to be done. Yummy mince pies. Oh, I got my 0 alcohol drink for Sunday, is it? Which is this Zero Pop Zero. It's alcohol free Bucks Fizz. So that would be quite nice, I hope. And then I got some crackers. Got 2 boxes of crackers, so 12 crackers altogether. We are going over to Northern Ireland for Christmas. I think I mentioned that before. And we're going to my cousin's house. She's hosting us. And there's going to be 9 of us, I think. So there's going to be my cousin, her husband, and her 2 kids. That's 4. And then myself, Adam, 2 of our kids. That's 8. And then my mum makes 9. So there'll be 9 of us. So I bought 12 crackers. That's plenty. I don't know what else I've got to bring. Judy, my cousin, is going to sort out the menu this week and tell me what to bring. So hopefully she'll tell me soon so I can get organised. And yeah, that's my little shopping trip to Sainsbury's. I had an £18 off voucher, which I tried to use, and then they told me that it wouldn't scan. And then they said it was because it was an online shop only voucher, which is the right pin. So I thought I was going to save the £18. I didn't. So damn it. Really annoying. Anyway, catch you later. So I've been working on my, I nearly said Sophie scarf then, on my December bow today. Had a friend round this afternoon for a chat, so we just sat and she crocheted, I knitted. So it's coming along really nicely. Look at it. Look at the colour, isn't it gorgeous? And it's so soft, it's lovely. There's a few little twiddly bits where I'm thinking of a mistake, like you can see there's something going on there. And there's something going on there. I think I've picked up an extra stitch there. But it's fine, that will be hidden by the top of the bow. So I'm currently measuring 41 centimetres. I've got to go to 50 centimetres before I assemble the bow and make the wee twiddly bit to go around it. So I won't finish it till tomorrow probably, but I am going to sign off now. So thanks so much for watching Vlogmas Day 5. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like, consider subscribing so that you get notified of when new content is available from me. And thank you very much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 6. Bye!